Welcome to this video. In this video I want to show you how I made this online web experience. Like, this is just a website that I just loaded in, where you can look around and walk around, and you can also use the joystick. This is for mobile, so if you're on a phone you can use the joystick. Yeah, and it's basically like a walkthrough experience of, in this case, the Barcelona pavilion. But yeah, this is just supposed to demonstrate how a project like this is feasible, and how maybe like a 3D web walkthrough could be used as media in architecture. So maybe you want to present your project in this way, and you could just have people scan a QR code and get sent to this website. In this case, it's hosted on GitHub. It's actually yeah, for free on GitHub. It's very nice, like under a certain limit. So if you have a complex space, like for example the Barcelona pavilion, this is why this was chosen, where you have multiple layers that intersect into each other. Like here, suddenly there's like a roof, and then there's all these wall slices that create all these little in-between spaces. Yeah, and this is something that is kind of hard to show just in a plan or in a section. Obviously, you can convey this, but if you have like a spatial choreography that is very specific, this may be a way to represent your project. To explain to you a little bit how I did it, I also made a poster, and it is kind of trying to peel apart the necessary layers of the project. If I start from the top here, the first thing is like the collision mesh. It's like a simplified mesh. We will get to that later and see in Rhino how this looks. Then there's the light bake, so the lighting path, which we, in this case, actually using pre-calculated lighting. So like this shadow here is not being rendered or calculated on my computer right now, but it has been rendered before and it's just loaded in. So this way we can have like high quality lighting and also like indirect lighting, like for example here on the ceiling, where you can see this would be very computationally intensive to run this in real time in a browser. And the third layer is like the materials, where you can obviously see like, yeah, this red stone, very famous, or this pattern here as well, and also the travertine. Yeah, so these are also set up in Godot. And then the context. In this case, it's the Google Maps model crushed very heavily into safe space to, yeah, not have it be floating in in like air, because, yeah, I don't know, that's not where it sits originally. So it's important to see how it actually sits. How, like, there's these trees here and this basically this very strong wall of, I think, a museum, and this plaza obviously, which is like. In this video I will reference two video tutorials that like helped me a lot, and one of them is like this first-person controller tutorial by Legion Games. It's basically how I made the controller in the code myself, and then obviously to host it for free on GitHub with GitHub pages, Maxo Diddley did like a great tutorial. So actually, like, I'm not gonna show this in detail. If you want to, I will link these videos in the description, and you can just check them out if you need to. So to create the new project, I'm just going to select a path, and this is my name. I'm going to call it archparc, and also this is the project path. You will probably have to switch from forward plus to compatibility, because compatibility is the only one that can be exported to web. So if you're like on the mobile platform, you have like more tools, more shaders, but only compatibility is able to be exported to web. In this case, I will want to control it with Git. That's right. So let's create the project. And this is how Godot looks when you open it first up. So, like, getting familiar with the game engine is like not the point of this tutorial. I will just show you the steps that I did inside of Godot. So if you want to get familiar with the game engines, or like Godot in specific, I would just recommend like watching tutorials about it. What we're going to do is create a new 3D scene. With the plus icon here, we can get the node thing, and we want to add an environment. a world environment, exactly. And this is basically to change the sky. So maybe this is the time where we import our first resources. So I added the world environment, and I want to add an environment that if you click on it, you will kind of like fold it out. It's not this actually, it's like clicking on this. And then we want to have a background, we want to have a sky, and then we click again on this. Ah no, sorry. As a background, we want to have a sky, but in this case we actually have to click here, then new sky, then we have to click once again here. Like this is a bit inconsistent because here it's like actually like a real drop down, and here it's not. And here we want to have like a new sky material, I think. Then we can fold it out once more. Exactly. And here we can drop a texture. So that's maybe the first thing I'll import. It is making like a new scene, calling it maybe pavillion scene. And then textures. Very nice. And here I'll just drag and drop a texture that I have like in my old project, but you probably will want to go to polyhaven.com for HDRIs or any site in any case, because yeah. And if you don't know, like an HDRI is basically a 360 image that will be projected in the scene. Here, like I actually crushed it down. As you can see, like this is very, very crushed. I don't know if this is the same. Yeah. Like this is JPEG compression doing like quite a thing on it. But HDRIs are usually very, very big files. And since it's very necessary for this project to work, to have like a small file size so that it actually loads a bit quicker and that it still fits into the GitHub limit. Like GitHub has a limit of 100 megabytes for files. Yeah, exactly. So to stay under that, I heavily compressed the 2K version, which is already like a small version. So yeah, that's what I'll export into my project. So here we are. Here we got it. And then you can just, like by drag and dropping it here, like there's other ways to import, but this is how I usually do it. And you can just drag this texture and like this box lights up blue. I don't know if you saw, like check here. If you drag it, it becomes blue to show you that you can actually put this here. And if you put it here, it actually loads as like a background picture. For the next thing, I'm gonna add directional light. A directional 3D, exactly, under this. Since we can't really tell right now in which direction this is facing, like maybe we'll just make it turn into this direction, but this is something we'll have to adjust later. Okay, and just for testing purposes, I'm actually gonna get a box. A box 3D, SCC box, exactly like this. I'm just gonna make it like a bit larger. I will delete this later, so don't worry about it. Just like this. For the character controller, we actually add a character body 3D, and this has like a warning because I think it needs a collision shape. So we want to add a collision shape 3D, and this is something we want to set here. Like we are we're chosen here. And go on to give it the capsule shape. Perfect, we already see it here. Like if you look very nicely. Yeah, so you can see cool a capsule. Then we want to add a node 3D. So this is like for a pivot, like I don't know, for reasons it's necessary, and then a camera 3D. Very nice. So if we were to click this test button here, oh yeah, exactly. Select current. And actually put it here. So if we test drive this, then already we can see like the camera is actually pointing this direction, looking here into this side with like maybe this tower here. The camera is working already, that's very nice. But obviously, like we need the player the player controller to be actually movable. And for that we can add a script, like attach script. Maybe I need to actually make a new folder for this. So we have the player controller. Very nice. And then we attach the script, exactly. This time we want to take it into the player controller and just call it player controller script. Controller script. Very nice. In this case, it actually recommends us, like we can get the basic movement template. Like if this doesn't show up in your case, it's not terrible. Like, so this is where the juice out player controller gets in. Like he does all sorts of coding with the player controller. But in this case, for this project and these intents and purposes, I'm just gonna copy and paste from my old project the code here. I just take it and copy it over. So replace it here and save it. But just to give you an overview, like this sets up a bunch of variables, like that just make the thing work. Like here it's checking for a touchscreen. Here's like the input handling. So if you have a mouse, you can rotate it. If you have a touchscreen, it's rotating. Here's like a bunch of extra code because right now there's a bug where the index of the finger isn't really like properly tracked. Yeah, right now it doesn't work. So we have to jump all types of hoops. But yeah, anyway, like you will find this in the GitHub, so you can just copy this as well. And then yeah, it's like the physics processing and and the head bob. Exactly. That's like what makes it feel a bit nicer and feel a bit more immersive and not just so static. Even though it's like very simple, it's just like a sine wave. It's like two sines that are going back and forth. So that is the script, very nice. We can verify that it actually works. Okay, so we fall through the box. Okay, so we need to give this thing collision. That's like, it's very nice that this actually has like just a checkbox here for collision. Yeah, so if we check, we should be able to click and drag. Yeah, perfect. And, walking doesn't work. Because we need to set up the controls. So then we need to check the code. What outputs are we actually listening for? Right. Oh no, those are terrible. We need to rename them. And to set up controls, you go to project settings, I think. Yeah, and then input map. And here we can start creating new input actions. So maybe we want to make like call it left, add it, and then add to it the A key and also maybe the left arrow key. So I set up all the actions accordingly. Only ones we really need for the project are the 4 movement directions. But just for once I added the jump and the sprint, even though in the final export it's probably advisable to remove the sprint so people don't, sprint around the the project. Because, like this is not a video game. Even though it's using a game engine, it's supposed to be exploration and experience. If you visit the Barcelona pavillion, for example, you're not gonna like sprint through it. That's Anyway, so this is the input map setup. Very nice. So now it's time to actually change these here. Oh no, that's wrong. Fuck. So it should actually be called left, right? Yeah, cool. This case should be just right. This should be forward. This should be backward. Very nice, exactly. So let's see if this works already. But forward doesn't work. Okay, did I make it? Oh, okay, obviously. Seems like we can get all directions. Very nice. Can we jump? Very nice. Can we also sprint actually? Yeah, we can. Alright, so now that we have the player controller, we can save it as its own scene. And we make that here. Exactly, and then here. And then we see, okay, we can't fold it like out anymore. Okay, so we got our player controller working. We have a directional light, we have a world environment, like a skybox here. Let's actually get rid of this box. Maybe we can actually just delete it. We only needed it to confirm that the player controller works. And let's import the level. So this is the level that I used for the demo. This is basically like the Barcelona pavilion. The mapping is done already. So if we were to, for example, give this, like because it's a large surface, if we were to give this the material, like they are stripped for the export because it made it easier for the export. So as you can see, it's like mapped already pretty nice. And this is the case for all of these materials. The materials were removed, yeah, just for the export. This model was actually made by my colleague, which I did this project with together. So she made a very excellent job of modeling the pavilion very precisely, like even with these cross-hatched beams. Like everything here is like super nice. Very, very nice. Good job, good job. Yeah, like look. It is just marvelous. And this is a crushed copy of a statue. Like someone recreated the statue actually, and I found it online. So thank you very much to the person who did this. I don't know like why they did this, but thank you very, very much. So this is like the model part of the export. So this is the collision mesh, and that's what I was talking about earlier. It's basically a simplified version of the mesh with all the areas where we actually want to have collision. So if we're only looking at the collision mesh, you can see that it's like very simplified. The cross columns are actually not crossed anymore, they're just rectangles. Yeah, and the bench is also like simplified and merged with the thing, and it's also impossible to jump into the water because like that's what everyone wants to do, and they're all like a bit angry that you can't. But I don't know, like in real life, if you were to visit the Barcelona pavilion, it's not the first thing on your mind to jump into the pool. So I think it's reasonable to block it, even though like virtually it's possible, but it's not part of the real experience, and we want to get to the real experience quite close. I mean, obviously, if you can, it's much better to visit the original, but like if you can't, and you stay, or like if it's not built yet, or if you like, I don't know, for whatever reason, like yeah, if it's historic, if it's destroyed, if it's too far away, there's probably a million reasons why you can't visit a specific architecture. So yeah, this is why we're doing this, right? Anyway, so this is the simplified version of the mesh. Then we get the building mesh. Again, shout out to my colleague. And in this case, to add some context, actually, like this is the Google Earth model that is like ripped from Google Earth. But they always have like these holes, so like patched in all these little patches here, so it's not see-through anymore. You wouldn't fall through these holes anyways, because the thing that the engine is calculating for the collision is obviously the collision mesh. But yeah, just it's weird to walk over a hole and float just above the scenery. Okay, so this is how the export is structured. We get like the collision, we get the building mesh, very neatly organized by layer. So everything that's supposed to be the travertine material is like on the travertine layer, so that it's very easy to retexture it in the Godot engine. Like these layers have a ton. Yeah, I absolutely recommend doing it this way. Like if you have a different way, fine, but yeah, I can. All right, so this is like the exported model, and I'm just gonna import, like, I mean, if you need to learn how to use Rhino, I'm not gonna tell you in this tutorial, but in this case it's just export, right? But I got this model already, so I will just drag it into the Godot engine. Okay, so here I get my file once again, and I will just drag and drop it into probably a new folder called import fbx. So let's drag and drop. All right, so we got it imported. This is like these are all the textures basically of the maps model. Yeah, and if we drag it in, we can actually see. Okay, yeah, perfect. It loads. We got it. Very nice. With escape, you can like stop this, but it is very, very important for the lighting calculations later to change this actually that from light baking to static light maps. This is very, very important. It is absolutely paramount. It is completely, you have to re-import everything again if you forget this. So static light maps is the right option. Then re-import and let it run through. We got it re-imported, very nice. The next thing that I'd recommend you to do, because we're just at this moment right now, is to select all of these images and swap them from VRAM compressed to lossy, and lossy quality maybe even 6, to reduce the size of the textures, because if we want to upload this to the web, yeah, it needs to be as small as possible, and like, I don't know, 230 PNGs. That's just not going to cut it. Lossy is also a good option for right now, because there's a bug with the Godot engine, at least in this version I've been using here, which makes the textures be black if you have the compressed version. I don't know like why that is. It's just a bug. Like, I'm not coding. I'm just here for the experience, right? Okay, so this actually makes us enables us to finally import the thing. So let's drag and drop it into the scene. Very nice. We can like zoom out, see it. Very, very cool. Like, this is so cool. I don't know. I think this is cool already. Yeah, and obviously we see that there's a whole bunch of untextured stuff, which obviously we know, like, we remove the textures here for the export. So if you click on this Y, actually, you can go into the top view, and I'm just going to use this to move everything, to move the thing kind of here, and then this to move it here. So that, I don't know, I just like the idea of the start point being like fine. Very nice. Okay, so what we want to do next to actually be able to texture it, because this is loaded as like an FBX. Again, check before you make this mesh that is actually static light maps, because you will have to do all this work over again, and I did it multiple times. And the thing we want to do is now to make it local. And making it local basically saves it to this scene. So now we can see the individual objects. We can see all these neatly ordered layers that we imported from Rhino. And one thing we should see exactly, I don't know why do they all need to be folded out? Well, what we also see is the collision mesh, and we see this object here. I moved the collision mesh up here, because what we want to do is, because right now this has no floor. So if we launch, we will actually see this scene, and it will be all very nice, but then we'll just fall through it, because it doesn't have collision yet. So let's see. Yeah, so that's just how it looks. It's like very nice, but yeah. And so to add collision to this mesh, we use the static body 3D. Exactly. Drag it up here, and it's complaining because it doesn't have anything right now. So this is the collision mesh, and when you select a mesh, here like a new option appears, and in this way we actually want to create a new collision shape, and we want to have it as a sibling, and also the tri-mesh, because this is actually trying to wrap around it, and this just yeah, basically mirrors it or makes a copy of it, but as a collision shape. So this is what we get here. It's a collision shape 3D. If we disable it, we can actually see it with these blue lines here. So we can see that, yeah, like all this is now these collision meshes, and we can actually see the pool is blocked. And if we move this under the static body 3D and launch it, and do the test. And we can actually stand on it. Very nice. I mean, this is almost the experience, right? We got the... I mean, this is all still very white, but I mean, already works. Now we can go here and visit the statue. Yeah, very nice. Works like a charm. All right, so with that working, I want to add a material, create new resource. In this case, material, and it's we want to have a standard material. We will call it, let's call it travertine. It's in the materials, very nice, cool. So if we double click it, we get the material here, but we need obviously the texture now, because right now we'll only have this. Okay, so now I'm gonna import my textures from my old project. They should be here, exactly. These are all my projects. Sorry, all my textures. Let's import them. All right. In this case, we can, because we want to save space again, import them as lossy. We import. For the travertine, we are gonna find the travertine texture. Where is it? Here, and put it into the albedo and put it into the texture. And now, if we find the under the buildings, the travertine, select all of these objects, and drag and drop the new material we just created under the travertine material, the TRES. If we drag this onto the surface material override, you will actually see, very nice, we have a texture. Incredible. It works. And it gets the scaling directly, like the mapping directly from Rhino. So like we have this fake plate that it looks like here's like a seam. Yeah, very nice. Cool. And like everything is working. Very nice. All right. And this is how we do it with all the materials. So we can always duplicate one of these materials. In this case, maybe we call it marble. Exactly, but this time we have this orange material and we need to find the red marbles, only this one, and apply the texture override to it. And now we should actually be able to see, very nice, it works. All right, so I'm gonna do this with all the materials, but probably before that I will show you how to set up the glass, or how I set up the glass. Because it's not actually a texture for the glass that I have. Maybe you could actually take a texture for that, like a scratch texture, to make it seem more real and less perfect. Because perfection in computer rendering is actually wrong. You don't want perfection. The peak of the discipline is usually like to add a bit of scratching, a bit of noise, a bit of that. All right, so to create the glass, let's make a duplicate of the material, reset the texture. We can actually just pick a color. In this case, we want to have like a light green, but reduce the opacity of it. So you're probably gonna take some tinkering. And glass is usually like a bit of green. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed, but it's like there's also a type of glass that doesn't have this green tint, that is like very, very white. I think it's called like iron-free glass, or like you can look it up, but it's like uncommon and and expensive, I think. And I think also for glass it's important that it's like very reflective. So let's find the glass materials. It's here, and apply the glass as an override so that we can actually see what we're working on. Okay, so right now this doesn't seem to work. Ah, yes, that's right, because we actually need to enable the transparency. Yeah, and then you can see, very nice, it's actually working. Maybe it's a bit too see-through, so maybe turn it off, make it a bit darker. Yeah, so that's how I created the glass texture. So some textures work like this, with like the glass. Some textures only have like the one texture in the albedo slot. Also more complicated textures will actually have 3 channels. The gravel is actually like a bit more of a complicated material. Yeah, so it actually has 3 components. It has the albedo. Yeah, right. I wanted to put the override so we can actually see what we're working on. Exactly. Like this pool is filled with pebblestones, but this looks very, very flat. And to make it look less flat, the material can use multiple textures to make it more realistic. And in this case, we can actually use the normal map here. Seems like we have to enable it first. So yeah, this doesn't seem to work very nicely. Alright, okay. And the roughness here. Alright. So you can see already that like there's these seeming gaps. So you just find the according channels in the material and apply your textures that you need to apply. Okay, so I applied all the materials to the scene. As you can see, all of this works, even though the lighting looks a bit unnatural right now. But like all these holes here are patched, it's not perfect, but sometimes it's also important to not let perfect be the enemy of good, as a famous YouTuber always says. Alright, so the next thing we want to take care of is the lighting, to try to get realistic lighting, but here it is important because since we want to bake the lighting into textures, so we can have like high quality lights, also with indirect lighting, which is like very expensive to calculate, even on the web platform, even on mobile, even on weaker devices. Like just in general, we want to have like the lowest impact on performance. This is how like old video games did it. And to be honest, they still look very nice, maybe even nicer than some games today, with the baked lighting. So, but since we're actually baking them into textures, they are going to take up memory. So we want to prevent having like all of these like context assets. They don't need to have like perfect lighting. Also, like they have lighting baked in already. So the only thing we want to focus our lighting on is actually this. So we actually want to go into these models here and go to illumination and actually turn it off, turn it to disabled, because that means that all of these models will be excluded from the global illumination calculations, which makes the calculations much faster, but obviously also the file size a lot smaller. So to actually calculate the ambient occlusion, we want to add another node, and this time we want to call it a light map GI. Yes, exactly. So now I did try to bake this lighting here, but I forgot to turn on the directional light to be also baked into the scenes. So if we switch this to static now and bake the lighting again, it should work. So let's check that out. Very nice. So this is how we get baked lighting, and we can see it's much darker in here, and we have like this nice gradient here to the outside, and we also get like bounce lighting. Like it's not super strong, obviously. If we had like a red surface here and a white surface here, we would see the effect much more. And we have to turn off the bounces, but then it just calculates way longer. But you can see this is already like workable lighting. Very nice. So maybe we want to change the sun angle so it's more pronounced, and we can have a shadow here because that looks very nice. Let me change that. All right, so I changed the sun's position. So let's bake again. Let's see. Exactly. So now we get the nice shadow here, and also this all of this is now in shadow. But as you can see, the shadow map has like a very low resolution, and to change that, obviously the higher we put the resolution, the higher the file size is going to be. So we get the same problem as always. But it is actually okay to increase the texture scale here. Or maybe let's go with 3, and that will multiply by 3 times. So yeah, doubles it, so we will like triple it. So let's calculate the lightness again. This will obviously take a bit longer now. Alright, so the result is in, it is done baking, and it looks much sharper already. Like this is much more crisp. And also here at the statue, it is way nicer to look at. So, and also you can, with light baking, you can always have this problem with light bleeding, which is basically the problem that the pixel that is too close to here, like the resolution is just a bit mismatched. One solution for this is to make the walls thicker, which, I mean, for this is not really an option. The other option is obviously to increase the textile scale, which is also not really an option right now. So, like in this case, we'll just have to deal with it. But it's not so bad. It's not really too distracting, I think. It also can, yeah, I think this is also one of the famous spots where we can really see the limited resolution. I mean, you can also look at the scene at the light bake. It is actually here. It's like it's an unrolled texture. Oh yeah, by this, if we're actually here, we can also change it to lossy and re-import it. Yeah, so that also saves a bit of space. If you're worried about space, like when I originally developed this, I was very, very worried about space. So I had the water disabled for some reason. Yeah, but if you're very worried about a small file size, I always did test exports. So, and you can export the project under project, then export, and then it just shows you nothing. But here you can actually click web. In this case, I just turn both of these off. Export. In this case, I had a folder here which was called webdeploy. Yeah, and one thing this tutorial right here told me from Max.Italy is that it's a good idea to not call this your project name, but to just call it index.html and then save it. Exactly. So, and it has exported correctly. And if I navigate to this folder here, we can see that no file is actually larger than 100 kilobytes. And that is the file size limit for GitHub. So this is like, now we're still in the clear, but as you can see, the index.package is actually getting very, very close. We are almost at the limit, but it's free. Why would you complain about something that's free? It's very nice. One of the last things to do now, yeah, exactly, is when we have the test drive, everything will look very nice. Obviously, we can like tweak the colors and the color representation, and the camera is like very low to the ground. Like we are very much in the fast mode, I guess. But as you can see, the water, you know, it's pretty nice. It's okay, but there's no reflection here. And real reflections are very, very expensive. Like reflections, especially with water and water interaction, is like crazily difficult in computer graphics. But there's a way to fake this that is actually friendly to mobile, and that is by using reflection probes. So if we go to add again, maybe we'll just add a node 3D as a call this probes. We add the node. And then look for reflection probe, very nice. And then we should see like a box appearing. And inside of this box, it will actually create a fake reflection. We can actually test this out. So let's see. If we go to the top view, push this over, no? Okay. Try to push this kind of to here. No, actually this can actually stay there and here. So just to demonstrate, oh no. So this is how it looks right now. Maybe it can be a little smaller and much more. Okay, all right. So as you can see, you kind of start to see a realistic reflection. But what really doesn't cost a lot of performance is actually the box projection. And now you can actually see the reflection of this wall. Very nice. Even though like this water is unrealistically not reflective, which just hides the imperfection, because if you look closely, you can actually see here there's a corner and there's just the skybox projected onto it. So it's like really fake. But still, like, and also if you move here, you can actually see this doesn't really match up. Like this should be here, and instead it is like in this corner. So what we can do actually is go here until it's not visible anymore. And to hide this weird seam that is very light, we can turn on interior. And now it seems like it's very convincing, at least in this perspective. And we can do the same here until, yeah, that seems to work. Yeah, so we got there. I mean, here it's not so critical, you know. Very nice. And then we can also duplicate this and get it to work on the other water feature. Since we are not allowing people to jump into the water, this can never be seen. So that's like another advantage of that. And when does it start? Yep, seems to be here. And here as well. Yep. Very nice. So we get like this very convincing effect, even though, as you can see, it is limited. It is not like real reflections. Obviously, this makes no sense that the shadow of the statue or the reflection of the statue is like kind of glued to the wall. It's like wallpaper on the wall. But yeah, if you don't look too closely, and obviously this angle will never be seen, this is very convincing. Also, yeah, very nice. Cool, so now we got the reflections prop set up. Like if you want to, you can also set it up in the interior here. All right, so as the two last steps would be to import the chairs and place the chairs down. This is probably advisable for objects that repeat a lot, so that they can be instanced by the game engine. Like obviously, like this is not really, you could build this all in the Godot Game Engine and have like one tree and just plop it down. So that would be also more efficient for rendering. But yeah, that would take a lot more work. And this is just a demonstrating project, so I didn't bother here. But for the chairs, we're actually going to do it. And then we're going to add a joystick controller so that the people on mobile, because like they don't have the arrow keys or WASD. So for them to be able to walk around, we need to add the joystick as well. Okay, so let's import the chair. So because it's a very important part of the Barcelona pavilion, I've got it here, I think. Yeah, this is the good model for it. Let's actually set up the maybe the chair import. Yeah. So let's import it. Let's place it in the scene and also already make. Oh no. Yeah, inherited. Okay. So here's our chair imported. I made it local into a scene. So actually, let's remove this already. Yeah, and import the scene, because here we should be able to go into the scene. Yes, very nice. And here it's time to apply the materials again. All right, so I set up the material. So this is like supposed to be like shiny metal. Like it's a bit like rendering shiny stuff as well. Like it's the same thing with the reflections. It's very hard. So this is not really like accurate metal stuff. It's just supposed to be looking like a bit metal. And obviously the seat now has like the texture. This is a bit overexposed, but as you can see here, this has also the texture. So let's save it. And as you can see, it was done already, like updated already. Also, one thing to do is probably to add a collider to this. So maybe it's a good idea to to add the collision box. Make it maybe a new box shape and make it about the same size as the Barcelona chair. Like, we don't have to be overly precise here. So maybe it's a good idea to call this editing node. Maybe double it, duplicate. No. Why? Alright, so we have like a kind of rough oh no, this is still not fixed. Alright, so I set up a rough collision box that includes these chairs, so this way you're actually right now able to jump on the chair. It should have the collision right now, so let's duplicate it, make another one here. Oh yeah, maybe it's also a good idea to make a node 3D, call this chairs, and put these as children of it so that it can actually be organized very well. Okay, very nice. So now they are still glaringly white, but that's something that will fix itself when we do the global illumination, the final pass. If you were wondering, by the way, how I changed from these views, it is actually like you could click here or you could click Q, W, E, R, at least on my keyboard. It's like the first row next to the tab key. It's probably going to be mapped to that on your computers as well. Exactly, but like now they are very white. This will be fixed when we rebake the lighting for the final time. One thing I want to do before that though is to implement the joystick controller. And for that we actually go to the asset library, which is built in here, and we search for joystick. And take this one by Marco Fazio. This plugin was actually shown to me also by another YouTube video, which is this one. He basically shows how he implemented it. So I will link this one too in the description. So it asks me to install like the plugin, and I'll say okay. Very nice. It's been installed. So it's been installed. Very cool. Now it is under the add-ons here right now. Okay, so if we want to implement this, I think we have to go to the 2D, add a canvas layer, this, exactly, and then we can drag the scene. They should have a scene here, yep, drag this onto the canvas layer, and actually it opens the virtual joystick. Yeah, so by default it's in the, like this faint blue line here is the screen, like the standard orientation of the screen. But under layout we can actually change this to be on the center bottom, which is what we want it to be. Also we need to change the inputs. Yeah, so here we want to go left, right, like these are the input keys that we set up with the input mapping. Just for a reminder, it's project settings and input map. Like it's these actions that we actually want to implement here. This is forward and this is backward. Forward. Very cool. So if we launch the game, it should actually display this and enable us to walk with it. So let's verify. Very nice. You can see the thing. Right now, my mouse, if I drag the mouse on the game window, it is actually not emulating a touch. But I can turn that on. If I search for emulate mouse under general, emulate under pointing, and turn this on. So if we check again. All right, so let's see. And we can see it works very nice. Works into all directions, so we didn't like have a typo in there. Yeah, like the dead zone feels acceptable. Like it always goes to full speed, so maybe eventually it would be nice to be able to moderate your speed with this by how far you push it. But for right now, I think this is very nice. So with this verified, we actually solved all the problems. Actually try to export it to mobile and check on the phone if it works and see if we are actually still under the limit, the file size limit. Let's see. So are we done already? Very nice. Looks. Alright, so I did upload it to GitHub. If you want to know how I did it, I just like use this tutorial. So I deployed it now on GitHub Pages, and if I navigate to it with GitHub here, yeah, like I judged this, no, I loaded this page before, so it should load kind of quickly. All right, so we are loaded in, but as you can see, okay, no, a little lag spike, that's usually normal. Yeah, so the skybox doesn't seem to work, so we need to check that again, but you can see the camera is working, the joystick is working, the walking controls are working, so it's very nice. The lighting seems to be working as well. Glass seems to be working, but the other materials don't seem to be working. Yeah, these are not baked yet, so that's fine. This material too. Alright, so back in the project, I just checked the textures again, and they are VRAM compressed again, so that's probably why they're not working. In the Godot documentation, there's actually here like a table where they show the advantages and the disadvantages. So yeah, it seems like basis universal is also very good. But yeah, I don't know, like this is what I'm using in this project is very small, but like large memory usage, okay, I mean, those are small textures, so I don't, quantity loss slight, moderate, well, anyway, so if you want to like inform yourself, like, oh yeah, here's like more tables, there's like, the documentation of Godot is actually really, really good, and I think, like, if you want to contribute to Godot, you can actually translate this or put this up to date. So yeah, anyway, enough of that. So we see that these are actually in the wrong settings, so let's select them and change them to lossy again, re-import, and then export it again. Let's see actually if there's more missing with the export. No, I mean this color is a bit unnatural, but that's fine. Yeah, looks, that's the only problem. The other problem is obviously we still have like this default symbol, and when we reload the page, it's actually the Godot engine. And as you can see here, I actually designed a logo for archparc in the project settings under the run screen, I think it is. No, under the boot splash. Yeah, exactly. So we need to import the logo. Let me just import this. Alright, so I imported this logo and also this logo design. And I'm gonna use this for the splash screen now. And to be honest, actually here it's probably fine to keep them at the lossless. Yeah, so let's change the splash screen. Alright, so the boot splash is changed here. So using this logo here. I also disabled full size because it scales it up to the full page, which is very big on a laptop. And it's like very weird to have the logo be this big. And the other one is under config, under icon, where you can actually look at the splash screen, get this icon, open it. Perfect. Alright, so if we export this once again, exactly, so here we see the changes already, and then we can say thumbs up, monitored, committed. Alright, and then push to the server, and let's see if this works now. Alright, we are in. So, yeah, it's a bit laggy for the first few seconds. Yeah, looks good. Works. Very nice. Alright, so here we loaded in on the phone. So as you can see, it works very nice. You can use the joystick to walk. Like the camera is like really far in, it's like a very high zoom lens. So there's always stuff to optimize, to change, to fix. But yeah, as you can see, it works. Yeah, works very nicely. So everything is in. So it even should work if we switch around. Oop. So yeah, very nice. Also, the exposure is really weird. So, but that's why you do testing, right? So that the final result is very nice looking. Alright, so as you can see, it works on mobile. Very nice. So now I only want to say thank you for watching this video to the end and for your interest, and I hope it inspires you to make something like this yourself. If you like want to kind of join this project, I think I'm like, if I find the time, I will try to develop this further. So maybe implement an elevator script so that tall buildings can be represented, and you can really show like a choreography through like a lobby and then into an elevator and then rising into the city. I imagine that could be quite cool. But obviously, yeah, there's like 1 million features I wrote down that would be cool to implement. Yeah, so if you were interested in that, like apparently it's not possible to write direct messages on GitHub. Obviously this is the repository, its future rate is archparc. So if you need to contact me, yeah, I don't know, write me a YouTube DM, leave a comment, I don't know, maybe I'll leave my email in the description. Yeah, and yeah, so thanks, hope this helps, and have fun.